Hello everyone and welcome to Kabbalah Explained Simply. I am Lio. I'm very happy to be here with you. I have a very special topic today. I hope you can hear me well on all the channels. We are live on Facebook and on YouTube. Just drop me a line, let me know that you can hear me and see me. I know you can see me, but let me know if you can hear me. And we're going to have a beautiful session today on spiritual war, so get ready. Yes, sounding good, excellent. So here we go, our intro. Happy to see all of you here. So many friends already joining, amazing. All right, here we go. Kabbalah Explained Simply. And hello and welcome to Kabbalah Explained Simply. I'm Lio. Today's session is about spiritual war. Yes, you heard it right, spiritual war. What is it? How do we win it? And a few other questions that we promised to answer. We are live on Facebook, on YouTube. If you are new to this session, then brace yourself. We're going to cover a lot of topics. This is by all means not an intro lecture to Kabbalah. This is not a replacement for joining KabU and taking all the intro classes, the self-study sessions, and kind of making your way gradually through all the concepts. If you're interested in doing that, there are going to be links posted in the chat exactly for that purpose. If you're already a KabU member, welcome. You know what this is about. If you are in the grad environment, which is the more advanced stage of KabU, then we're also going to meet later after this session for a private Q&A session at the end of this session. So a lot of interesting things awaiting us today. Spiritual war, it's not an easy topic. Let's see if we can make the most out of it. Obviously, send in your questions, send them through the chat, because we have great friends waiting to take them down and sort them out. And we'll start with questions on the topic, and then if we have time, we'll answer questions on other aspects as well. As I said, I'm going to touch on a lot of different things that have to do with Kabbalah. If this is your first time, don't be overwhelmed. Ask questions, we'll try to get to it. But like I said, every studying Kabbalah, it's a little bit like diving down a rabbit hole. Behind every concept, there's like a whole world of concepts and a whole world of Kabbalists who came up, attained it and wrote about it and came up with their own way of talking about it. So this is truly an entire world, but it's a work of a lifetime. So don't be taken aback by it. So spiritual war. This is obviously, it's not a coincidence that we've chosen this topic, because in less than 100 years, we managed to bring humanity to the brink of yet another world war. Yay. Ironically, of course, this is not great, but like everything in reality, we have the advice of the Kabbalists, the principles, the laws of the system, the purpose of creation to guide us through what's happening in reality. And as strange, as terrifying as things can get sometimes, there's always a bigger reason for what's happening, and that's what we're going to hopefully get to today. So in the sort of lead up to this session, we said that we're going to answer several questions. So our world is at war. I mean, is it World War III? Okay, it's a question. We'll look into it briefly, not from the political standpoint, just trying to look at what's happening before us, what's unfolding before us, and we'll ask, obviously, why is this still happening? Why is this still a thing? You'd think that after the gruesome 20th century, we would know better, and somehow we would avoid another war, and here we are on the brink of World War III. And I'm not saying it lightly. I am light about it because that's my nature, but it's not to be taken lightly. It's very concerning. It's very worrying because it affects everyone. It's a world war. There's nowhere to go. It's not like, we'll just move to another country. It's a global conflict. We're also going to ask and answer, hopefully, is this a spiritual war? And what is this? Usually when we say spiritual war, people think of Armageddon, right? The end of the world, or at least the end of the world as we know it. Hint. But it is a question if this is a spiritual war, and if not, how can we fight a spiritual war, and how can we stop this war, this armed conflict, this obviously suffering of a lot of people? How do we stop that? And can a spiritual war actually save us from armed conflict, from the need to even have an armed conflict? What's the connection between the two? And lastly, how do we win? How do we win this? Hold on a second, let me check. I think someone's trying to tell me something. Let me see. Stay with me. Okay, I think we're good. Okay. Last thing was, yes, how do we win this, right? So who are we even fighting in a spiritual war? What kind of training do you need? How do we win this war? So all these questions we'll try to tackle in 30 minutes, so to leave time for questions. So buckle up. So the first thing is that we notice that reality is a struggle. Everything in reality is a struggle, and it's not a coincidence when you think about it. From the moment you're born, even before that, there's a struggle. There's a sense of struggle. Things are not flowing smoothly. There is a relationship between everything. There is a perceived harmony, but it seems like everything is, a result of some struggle. A baby wants to stay inside, womb wants to push it outside. Or the reverse. Mother wants to keep baby in, baby wants to push out. Animals are fighting for territory, for control of the herd. Nature is full of these seemingly conflicting concepts, conflicting forces, always at odds, always as if there's just a huge fight just around the corner. One thing is vying for control over another thing. We see it everywhere. I mean, I just took pictures from the animal kingdom because it's easiest to show, but it's everywhere. Also in life, it seems like everything that I'm doing in life, there's always some sense of a struggle. Nothing sort of comes easy to you. Even when you meet people who do something that and it looks as if it's effortless, you talk to them, they'll tell you it's not effortless. It's a result of a great deal of effort, of struggle, of exertion. There's always something. But is there a reason? Clearly, if nature is doing it on all levels, and it is evident on all levels, there's a reason for it. So the question is, are we doomed to be at war all the time? That is that is the question. And even when we get to from up the degrees, from the still vegetative animate to the human, obviously there's no need to talk about this armed struggle between humans, all the way up to the Wild West. But sadly, this didn't end there with two gunslingers. This went on to become the horrible wars of the 20th century, and this is just one image, probably a moment before the calm before the storm kind of image of World War II, right? D-Day. This is a big question, and I remember when I was a kid growing up in Israel. Israel would be at war every few years, every decade. There seems to be a war going on. I'm not even talking about the current conflict, which seems to be going on forever with spates of terror attacks and retaliations and all that stuff. I'm not even talking about that. I'm just talking about actual war, front lines, army against army, that kind of thing, from the birth of this nation all the way to today. So it seems like there's no way around it. And yet, I remember my mom telling me, well, we came from Europe. They came from Europe. Her parents, she was born in Europe. Her parents were there. They were in the war. They lost people in World War II, the Holocaust, all of that. And then they came to Israel. They thought, well, we put all of that behind us. And little did she know she's going to just land into a whole other slew of wars. And when I was born, when I was a kid, she was like, well, I hope that you don't have to fight a war. And here we are today after yet so many wars and conflicts and struggles. So this is clearly not something that's going away on its own. And the question is, why? So we'll get to it. So just a few words on this current struggle, this Russia-Ukraine struggle. Is it the beginning of a World War III? It's a question. It didn't take much to ignite World War I, if you remember, just the murder of one prince, and the whole world was at war. There were a lot of colonies around the world at the time, so clearly when one country is at war with another country, all its colonies are at war with all the other colonies. So it's easy to see how that kind of spread. But it was essentially a war also of control of power. The war that we have today shares a lot of similar characteristics. You have Russia, China, Belarus, Chechnya, to name a few, versus Ukraine, US, and NATO. All right, so that's like a lot of countries. So is it the whole world? No, but it's most of the world. And you have the threat of nuclear arms. You have an interesting thing here where this is really like a war that is between two nations that are very close, actually, if you think about it. Russia and Ukraine, culturally, their religion, they share history. So many similarities. People marry between these two countries. I mean, you'd expect this war to happen between two other countries that have more differences, that are more opposite, if you will. But no, here you are, two countries that should be brothers, and suddenly they emphasize their differences rather than emphasizing their similarities. How is that? How did it happen? You think people with all the progress and the money involved and everything, why would they go? I have friends in Kiev. I have friends in Russia and in Ukraine. I have friends in Kiev, and up until the morning of the 24th, when bombs started to fall around Kiev and other cities, no one thought there's going to be a war. People did not believe that this could happen. And here you are, a war that's also emphasizing control and power and honor. And you have these other elements around it. It's stoked by these Eastern and Western superpowers. So again, that's why it's scary, because it's not a local conflict. Ukraine is really a battleground between these two superpowers. That's what's happening, and that's what's so strange about it, because you also see that what's happening is kind of beyond common sense, because the financial damage to all the countries, and the suffering to everyone involved, and the emotional damage, and everything that's going to, all the fallout from that kind of war is going to be tremendous. So it's not like, someone is going to conquer another country and acquire additional resources. No, it's much more. There's something else going on here. But what? What is going on here? That's the question. And the question is not the question. The thing that we're seeing here is that there is already something else at play here, right? Specifically because this is not because we have the lessons of the 20th century, because we don't need to wage these warm wars, these hot wars. There's no need today to plunge entire countries into this and put the lives of so many people on the line. Why is this happening? Why seemingly a deterioration, almost like going back? So to understand it, we have to understand the will to receive. So in Kabbalah, we talk about the will to receive. That's what was created, right? Everything that we see around us is an expression of this quality, this force called the will to receive. It's a quality that receives, right? Wants to receive. And at first, on the lower levels of creation, right, when you look at well, still it's hard to see, but at the inanimate level it's hard to see. But let's say the vegetative, the animate level, simple human societies, you see the will to receive at work. Self-benefit, okay? Self-preservation, self-benefit. I'm happy if I can get what I need to fulfill my needs. Food, sex, family, a little bit of money, a little bit of control, some knowledge. It's very small, very localized, if you will. That's a kind of the first, the initial expression of the will to receive. But as it evolves, we're seeing the will to receive making this twist, literally a twisted turn in its evolution. It goes from self-benefit to exploitation. Suddenly the will to receive is not merely happy by having things, it's by making others give me what I want, making others serve me, right? We see, if you look at human history, from just hoarding and gathering and kind of fighting over resources, now I can also enslave other people, exploit other people, exploit other territories, exploit nature. Exploitation is a big thing. It's a big theme of human evolution. And now we're getting into this next level of this sort of twisted evolution, uncorrected, unchecked evolution of the will to receive, and that is into humiliation, right? I'm not simply happy when I have what I need. I'm not simply happy when I have what I need and I make others kind of work for me, do for me, all that. No, I have to see the other suffer, see the other lowered under me, right? There's already a war of honor. It's the war of the ego. It's a much more subtle kind of more, if you will, more sinister even, if you think about it, because technically there's no, and again, this is not a political statement, but I'm just taking Russia and Ukraine, the US as an example. We live in one planet. Everybody already knows that. Russia and the Ukraine, Russia and the US, they have astronauts in the space station, and we know what we can achieve when we do it together. It makes no sense to go into war. It makes absolute zero economic sense, zero financial sense. All these reasons that were given by Russia makes no sense. What America is saying makes none of it makes sense. If you really kind of get into it, there was no need. Why there needs to be such a tension between the East and the West? Why can't we just work together, if you will? No, this is a war of the ego. The ego is manipulating everything kind of behind the scenes, and that's what we're seeing, and that's why it's so dangerous. And yet it's not a surprise, because the Creator said, "I created the evil inclination. I created the Torah as a spice." It's written in the Talmud. We're not going to get into what does it mean that the Creator said. Okay, Kabbalists attained that quality. Creator created the evil inclination. When we learn about the process of creation, the 4 phases of direct light, what was created? The Creator was a force of love and bestowal, and it needed something to bestow to. So, force of love and bestowal needed something it can bestow to, a vessel. Okay, that's what was created. A will to receive, a desire to receive pleasure. But it's not just a desire to receive it. He called it specifically the evil inclination, because it's a desire to receive with the intention to receive for itself. That's what eventually was created, and for a reason. But we should not be surprised that we're seeing these manifestations of sheer wickedness and evil and brutality and aggression. No, they're not going to go away. Not on their own. We've had millennia to sort these things out, and we're still doing it. Right? So there's no reason for these things to simply just go away, because at its core we're dealing with a quality that was created intentionally and placed inside this system of creation. So what do we do with this? What do we do with this quality? How do we work with it? How do we is this really an armed conflict, a world war that we are now going to fight, or is this a spiritual war? That's the question. And what we're seeing really is that at the core of everything is this struggle. Again, the same struggle that we see in nature can be traced back to the root of everything, which is the struggle between the will to bestow and the will to receive. These two opposite qualities that are now at odds with each other, where the will to receive doesn't just want to say, okay, give me something. No, I want everything you have. I want to be like you. I want to be above you. That's what is happening now. And we see it from the four phases of direct light. We see the relationship of Malchut that was created and how it relates to the Keter. Malchut wanted to have everything. And that's what prompted the feeling of shame and the restriction and the development of all the other worlds, which essentially allowed Malchut to receive with the right intention. But at the heart of it, this is a struggle that is going on between the will to bestow and the will to receive. The Creator wants to give us everything. He wants to bestow to us, but we can't receive it because we're opposite. Because we just want to receive everything for ourselves. And that quality is at the heart of all the problems that we have in creation, everything. Because this realization is something that was planted into the purpose of creation. We were supposed to come to a place where we realize that we cannot use sheer power and aggression and destructive qualities to gain fulfillment and attain happiness. And that is why this war right now, the very fact that it's putting us in this state of global mayhem and helplessness, and we see this manifestation of the ego. It's exactly not merely a corporeal war, but it's a spiritual war, because there isn't really a real reason for this armed conflict. And what it's actually doing is making us realize that happiness cannot come through the destruction of others. And some of you may say, well, I always knew that. I was born thinking that violence is terrible. Yes, but humanity as a whole does not know that. And that's the interesting thing about it, because if you think about it, a lot of people are suffering, but their questions are not about what is the meaning of life, what is the purpose of all this. Their questions are about, I wish I would stop suffering. That's what people are thinking right now. And that's the difference between someone who studies Kabbalah, for example, and someone who just runs from one source of pleasure to another and tries to escape one source of pain and hopefully not land in another source of pain and discomfort. That's the difference between people living on the animate level and people who have a point in the heart awakened that already asks, why is this happening? What's the purpose behind this? That is the main difference between these people. And that's the reason why this war is still happening, because the world as a whole, humanity as a collective, is still not asking these deep questions. And yet nature is pushing us to ask those questions through those seemingly horrific acts, yes. But those horrific acts, like any struggle in nature, is part of this process of correction, of realization. You can pay for this spiritual advancement through your efforts, conscious efforts, or through these unconscious sufferings, if you will. And they don't replace the internal work that we have to do, but they sure push us in the right direction. It's like a donkey who starts to deviate off the path and you can't push him back. He needs to feel that this side is where he's going to get these, the stick, and it's going to make him go back, find the right path. It's not going to make him climb up that mountain. He's still going to have to exert that effort, but at least that stick prevents him from going further off track. And that's kind of where we are today. It sounds a little harsh when you look at it in this global perspective, but the Creator doesn't really take the corporeal sufferings into consideration. It's kind of fair game for the Creator. I know it's hard to hear it, but go with me on this one. I wanna. Let's see. I don't know if I have time to draw on. So let me just kind of go through the rest of what I had to give you, and then So how do we stop this physical war? I'm sure everybody wants to know. Let me see if there's already questions. Maybe I'll take a few questions. No questions yet. Okay, so everybody's on board. Good. So how do we stop this physical, this corporeal war, this physical war? How do we actually stop the shelling and the bombing and the fighting, all of that? So what we're seeing is that this war is showing us for the first time that sheer power, money of the one individual, as was the case in the past, up to just recently. If I had money and guns, I could pretty much do as I please. And we see that for the first time when this unification against against this force of the individual, the unification of the many against that individual, is suddenly creating a disturbance in the traditional equation of money and power. It's because this is really going back to the heart of what the true war is about, and it's kind of touching already on this question of what is a spiritual war, right? If we wage this war between us, right, meaning internally against the evil inclination, and actually fight to unite above it, if we do it, we don't have to fight externally. That's a twist that is slowly and gradually being revealed here. Again, if we wage this war internally and we band together to rise above that evil inclination, which is pushing us, right? It's the ego, it's the will to receive, self-benefit, then self-benefit at the expense of the other, exploitation, humiliation, all those things. How do we fight it? We have to rise above it. Give each other the strength to rise above it. This is the beginning of this war. And the other thing is that its love covers all crimes. Again, some of those lines you probably heard. I'm kind of jumping from one concept to another just because I want to get to the questions. But essentially, what the wisdom of Kabbalah is showing us is that you can't simply do it alone. We need each other's help. We need to get to a place where we make efforts to love precisely in this place, precisely above these manifestations of hate, and it makes us realize that we can't do it by ourselves. And this is already the beginning of something new. It's the beginning of prayers. So again, the equation is simple. Will to receive. Each one of us has a tiny bit of the will to receive. We have all these different egoists living their lives trying to gain their egoistic gains. We have in positions of power big egoists with money, with power, with guns, with everything that we see in the world. And up until now, they were calling the shots. But as of this war, we're starting to see that people are making efforts to band together, to bring the force of unity, the power of unity against these individuals in power. That's what we're starting to see. And not simply one armed conflict against another. Not simply, let's just win this war and relax. No, let's win all the wars. How? By bringing love into this equation, specifically above all the crimes, everything, all the conflicts, everything that we see and feel, we begin to cover it in love, with love. And this is the essence of the wisdom of Kabbalah, how to actually do it. And this is what we actually do in our groups. In the tens, if you heard that word before, in a Kabbalistic group, you learn how to see the evil inclination. You reveal small portions of it. You don't need to reveal an entire armed conflict, but you see the manifestation of it. You can see, you can feel it, you can see it, and we learn how to cover it with love. What is this love? How to do it? This is exactly what the wisdom of Kabbalah is teaching us. And this, by making this effort, it brings us to already to ask for help. There's an internal cry for help because I cannot do it by myself. And I'll tell you a secret, it's hard to even do it together because we're not simply taking one big ego against a smaller ego. This is already an entirely new nature that we're trying to bring into this equation. We're trying to bring the force of bestowal For that, we need the help of the force that created it, the Creator. And that's the beginning of prayer. And on that, Rabash, Dr. Lightman's teacher, who wrote to us all the social writings that talk precisely about this work in the group, he wrote this quote, which I'd like to read for you. This is tiny, small for me. I'll read it from here. I look at one tiny dot called love of others, and I think about it. What can I do to help people? As I look at the public, I see people suffering, illnesses, pains, and the suffering of individuals inflicted by the collective, meaning wars among nations. And besides prayer, there is nothing to give. And this is extremely deep, and we can probably have an entire session just on prayer. I wonder if we had a Kabbalah Explained Simply on prayer. If not, I'll put it on my to-do list. But one of the things that I found that is so, probably one of the most misunderstood concepts in Kabbalah and in human existence is prayer. The thought that, something is bad, I will just kneel down and ask for some benevolent being to grant my wish and make my life better. Maybe at the expense of everyone else, it doesn't matter. Let's just focus on me for a second here. That concept of prayer is obviously infantile, juvenile, and clearly not working. The concept of prayer that is mentioned in Kabbalah comes from the word in Hebrew lehitpalel, which is an act you do on yourself. It's this self-reflexive verb, I think, in English. Right? It means to judge yourself, to incriminate yourself almost. Right? It's to find out what is it that you're still missing in order to reach this quality of love, to be like the Creator, the force of love and bestowal. What is missing? I want that, and I want to see it in all the people around me. That's the meaning of prayer, is to find how am I flowing this called love of friends. I'm the one who's a problem here. So help me, remove me from that equation, bring love into the situation. Let me be the force that can bring love into the situation, connection, over the hate, over the crimes, over the friction. This is in a nutshell, the essence of prayer. So it's a very different concept than what we're used to seeing here. Now, there's one more thing, which is probably equally important, and that is something that very few people are talking about. I'm going to touch on it, and then we'll go to questions. Okay, so the concept is women. So I know this will open up probably a whole other can of questions, and that's fine. Women can change the world. We've reached a point in time where women actually have the power to do it. They've always had the power, but it simply wasn't the right time. Now this is the time for women to actually own that role in creation, be the mother of the world. Think about the concept of a woman in the family, the mother who kind of makes sure the kids, they play nice, they eat well, they study well, they grow up well, they become people, right? Human beings. She gives birth to them, she raises them, she nurtures them, she guides them. That quality is what's missing right now in the world. And what we need to see in the world, and again, Kabbalists have been talking about it, it's everywhere, is this move from women fighting for women's rights, which is kind of like small potatoes compared to what's at stake here, to women leading a spiritual warfare. If women will obligate people to lay their arms and study and connect and understand what's going on here, they will do it. Because what women demand, men do. It's clear. Ask anyone. So this concept, this is really, it's almost like funny how simple it is on the one hand, yet how complicated it is, because it requires this education on the side of women, connection and organization, which they still don't have. And a lot of time, the demands of women are not at all in this direction. We've seen hints of that here and there. There was actually a protest, right, that women broke off in, what was it, Belarus or something? I don't want to say the wrong thing, but women manage to kind of step in and stop it. We see hints of that, sparks of that, beginnings of that, seeds of that. We need to see more of that. Women can truly change the course of where the world is going. Men cannot do it. Men are good for certain things, women are good for other things. This is a place where we really need the help of women. So, in short, what we're seeing here right now is really an opportunity. It's when the forces of separation awaken in the world, specifically then, always have been, but now more than ever, because this is what we call the time of the last generation. They're always a clarion, a herald that tells us that we must increase our efforts to connect, to bond with one another, rise above our mutual hatred. This is the place to if we build love where there's hatred, it will be true love, because it will be our own creation, right? It's not really a big challenge to love someone who makes you feel good. That's like easy. You make my hormones rage. I love you. No, that's animals. We're talking about love that is forged in the ashes of enmity and struggle, and these are the times that we live in. This is exactly the time where humanity as a whole needs to kind of rise to that occasion. So it's terrifying and exciting at the same time. So I think this is it for now. Let's take a few questions and see what we have here. All right. And again, feel free to ask about anything. I know I mentioned a lot of things. I mentioned the 4 phases of direct light, the light and Kli, the restriction and screen, the shame, the struggle, the fight between different parts of creation, love covers all crimes, prayer. All those concepts were folded into this. So ask away. All right. So here we go. Crystal. Can you get everyone worldwide to stop for a few minutes and connect worldwide and say a prayer for Ukraine and Russia as well as world peace? Excellent question, Crystal. So, we can't make people do anything. You can't coerce. There's no coercion in spirituality. It's an important rule to remember. However, we are in B'nai Baruch, interestingly enough, we are actually a microcosm of this world that you crave. We are one unique, unified, interconnected world Kli. We have groups all over the world, right? In every country. You have friends in Russia, in Ukraine, and they're friends, by the way. We are following the method the Kabbalists have prescribed to exactly do that, to draw, to reach the Creator, feel the presence of the Creator, this force of love and bestowal through equivalence of form by practicing it in a group, by following the method of Bala Sulam and Rabash. And we have, besides this daily work that we do, daily lessons, all of that, we also have, since the beginning of this conflict, daily prayer. I hope they can put a link in the chat for it, but if not, you can probably find it on our Facebooks and other places. But the women are meeting every day for a prayer. Also, the men around the world are doing it. We are actually doing it. We're actually, in addition to all the work, also adding an extra effort into this request for this love and connection to dwell among all the friends, everyone around the world, actually, and for people's hearts to open to it, because that is the strongest force in reality, really, as you pointed out rightfully. But the right kind of prayer. Again, not please don't hurt my friend whose house is being bombed. No. Bring this love to everyone. Bring this connection to everyone. Help people realize that this is the only way. When we unite, we band against our own egos. That the ego is the cause of all of it. So this is, and we'll end with a beautiful quote from Rabash on that afterwards as well. Question about, Purim. Okay, interesting. Did love cover Haman? Okay, so Haman, side note, okay, open parentheses, we'll spend 2 minutes on it. The story of the scroll of Esther, okay, Megillat Esther in Hebrew. The word Megillah from the word Gilui, revelation, and Esther from the word concealment. So it's revelation and concealment. So this whole story is one big allegory or metaphor or symbolic story. Haman represents the evil inclination, the intention to receive, right? So will to receive, and then in order to receive, that's what Haman represents. That intention, you don't cover it with love. It's just an intention. We ask the Creator to eradicate that intention, to replace it with an intention to bestow. Okay, that's Mordechai. All right, he represents the point in the heart, in our egoistic bag of desires. There's one desire or one intention, if you will, that wants to connect to the Creator, to the King, to bestow. He replaced him with him. So the whole story is about that, and it happens when the people, all the Jews, those who seek unity, actually unite, come together and unite. So that's, in a nutshell. I think that we have quite a few interesting clips just in Purim, so you should look into it. Maria, did the Creator, with all my respect, make a mistake in the creation process? If we were perfect at the very beginning, why did He transform this state into a horrific one? Thank you. Beautiful question. All right, it's time for a drawing, I think. All right, so you've probably seen this before, and I don't know if they put links on the YouTube later on for all the other places where me or the other instructors talk about this, but essentially there is no mistake. Okay, everything is planned, and it's planned just the right way. Why? Because the Creator is the will to bestow. Okay, bestow. Hold on. Bestow. Yeah, you're seeing it. Good. And what does He create? He created a vessel, a will to receive. Great. That's Bchina Aleph. That's Chokhmah. Okay, that's one, if you will. This is the root. Shin Shoresh, root. Okay. Or Keter. All those names, you will learn all their meanings and all of that. Great. Feel this this quality, and everything was great. Creation was over, right? Everything was good, except not quite, because the light created the vessel. The light imprinted the vessel with a desire for the light. The light fills the vessel with the light. There's no awakening here. There's no real creation. I mean, there is creation, but it's not independent. It's not truly fully realized. Okay, the Creator wanted to create something that will be like Him, that He will be able to bestow to, and that creature that He creates will be able to feel that pleasure and bestow it back to Him, so they can be on the same level. He didn't just want to fill it and seal it. Okay, which is what was happening here. Right? There's no independence here whatsoever on this level of Chokhmah. This is completely under the control of the light. This whole process is called 4 phases of direct light, because the light is doing everything. It's the light creating the deficiency, the light filling it, done. However, there's this feeling that this vessel started to feel right here on the bottom. We say on the bottom, okay? But we're using human terms. It started to feel something. Started to feel, maybe I'm feeling this light. I really want to be like this light. I don't want to just receive because I see the light bestows. I also want to bestow. That feels good. So we say that the second phase is Bina. So that's second phase, and Bina says, I don't want to receive anything. I'm going to just bestow it back to you. Don't give me anything. Keep it empty. Why? Because I want to bestow. Once again, Bina feels, well, right? We say the bottom of Bina, right? It starts to feel, well, I can't just bestow because I have nothing to bestow. So I need to receive a little bit, and then I'll receive it in order to bestow, right? So there's already a new attitude is born here, right? A new thought. It's almost like, okay, I'll receive a little bit. That's like one, and then I'll bestow a little bit. We get this Zer Anpin. That's the name of this vessel number 3. So receive a little bit, and then bestow a lot back to the Creator. Now, all of this is happening under the influence of the light. There's still no independent vessel here. These are all seemingly feelings that awaken in these vessels, right? By the effect of the light, by the work of the light. And guess what? Again, this vessel started to feel, well, I can receive this light, and I can also receive I want to receive also the qualities of the Creator. I want to receive everything, basically. So we end up with vessel number 4, which is Malchut. Malchut, that's number 4. And Malchut says, I just want to receive everything. We kind of mark it with these two big arrows. Right? I want to receive everything. Now, this desire I want to receive, this is new. This is already the end of the creation, of the creative process, if you will. I mean, Creator kind of finished his job somewhere here. It's basically when he finished his. I see. You don't see that. Okay, so right here is when this was over, but right here is when the desire, number 4, is where the desire really reached its full potential to want to receive. Now I'm opposite the Creator, because I want what the Creator has to give me. I want His ability to bestow. I want to receive the feeling of pleasure from the light. I want everything. I want to be like the Creator, and I want to exploit the Creator. Right? Sounds familiar? If He can give me, I want to take it. Okay, so this is really the end of the development of the desire. So creation ends here, the desire and develops here, but here something interesting, new is born, and that is the feeling of the delta, right? This shame. Okay, that feeling of shame is what made Malchut change his attitude. I can't stand this shame. This is not shame of like, oh, I got caught stealing. No, this is shame where you feel like, it's almost like, I'm trying to think of a metaphor here. It's like you're stealing from your parents money that they saved up for you anyways, and you're stealing it because you're just a bastard, right? It's like that, and then you really have a realization in therapy 10 years later. Oh my God, I was stealing money from that my parents was working hard to get this money for me. I was stealing it, right? So there's this kind of opposite. Like they're all about giving me, I'm all about taking. This feeling that Malchut feels sets in motion a whole world or worlds that are starting to be born as a result of that, which essentially help Malchut receive in order to bestow. I'll only receive a little bit if I can bestow it to the Creator. This is already a change of attitude. This is the beginning of that spiritual negotiation. It's not war yet, it's negotiation. But this process continues, and eventually down the line, there's a process that it kind of stuck. It gets stuck. It reaches a saturation. Let's say I got everything I could received everything I can receive in order to bestow, and that's it. If this were the end of creation, so you see all these points where creation could have ended. So could have ended here. It could have ended here. Oops, sorry. What is that? Okay, I don't want to. It could have ended here. Sorry. It could have ended here. It could have ended here. And it could have ended when, for some reason, looks like everything is stuck here. So I will stop with the board because I see it's not refreshing itself. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about that. I'll continue with San's drawing. So it could have ended just when Creator created the first discernment, first phase, right? Malchut. I can receive, done. But then there's no independent creature. Then it could have ended when Malchut was created, when at the end of the development, the end of the 4 phases. Now we have a full desire to receive. I want to receive. It's completely opposite the Creator. No, it can't end there because it can't, because the minute it received everything, it felt this shame, this horrific shame. So now Malchut is doing all this work in order to receive, in order to bestow, these calculations, all these negotiations are happening so it can receive a little bit, because the Creator wants to give, and Malchut has to find a way to receive. But it reaches the limit of its ability to receive in order to bestow. What do we do next? You need to uncover more deficiency and greater vessels. That's when the shattering happened. And the shattering happens again, and the result of the shattering we also see in this world. I'm not going to get into that, but the shattering was a necessary part of creation. The creation of the evil inclination was a necessary part of creation, because Creator wanted to give everything to someone. He needed something who can receive it all, except we need to receive it in the corrected way. So the Creator is slowly but surely poking us to wake up and ask, what is going on? Who is doing this? Why is it happening? What do I need to do? How do I need to change my attitude? Oh, it has to do with other people. It has to do with connecting with other people. I can connect in order to defeat something. Maybe we can connect in order to defeat this inner quality of the will to receive. That's where we're headed. I hope I answered your question. Kevin, how do I explain Kabbalah to other people? You give them a book, Kevin. That's the best thing to do. And then you study with us, and one day, hopefully, you have an inclination to maybe teach as well, and then you'll have students, so on and so forth. But you're right to ask this question. I didn't mean it to be kind of facetious. You do give them a book, but we are talking about a process that starts with our connection, our efforts to connect, our efforts to raise this prayer, raise this deficiency from us to, hey, you broke everything, you correct this. And then in addition, we have to kind of plant the seeds so humanity can also get a glimpse of this idea of what's happening. So books are good, clips, bring people closer to this idea. This is what we have right now. People are not able to listen to hour-long lectures and big ideas all at once, especially not when there's like an armed conflict around them, and the prices of gas and wheat are going up, and everything is unstable, and they just had 2 years of COVID. Mostly what it's doing is it's kind of putting people in this state of stupor, almost. They kind of get stuck and they freeze, and then it makes them think about things. And hopefully you can start by asking questions. Help a person by asking questions, helping them to ask questions. Why is this happening? What can we learn from this? If we live in one system, what is the result of one force against another force? What's happening inside of me? Maybe this is a good book, maybe that's a good clip. So start with this, and then we'll go from there. Then, how to get a certain person to change the war from external to internal war when he's so locked in his desire for the external war? You can't, really. You cannot. And this is, there's a saying in Kabbalah, it's called the sorrow of the Shekhinah. The Shekhinah is the corrected vessel, right? It's when Malchut requires its corrected form, and now it feels this sorrow. It's almost like Esther from the Megillah, from the scroll, was sad because their people were dispersed and all over the place, and Haman said, hey, this is this one people who were all dispersed. It's when we come together. This is, by the way, the role of everyone with a point in the heart, the role of Israel, the spiritual Israel. And it's interesting that even in this war, Russian-Ukrainian war, you have in the middle there a Jewish president, and you have an Israeli prime minister who's trying to mediate peace. Once again, Jews find themselves in the middle of this conflict. Even though it seemingly has nothing to do with Jews and there's no need for Jews to intervene, the nations of the world seemingly pull that nation in because they intuitively feel that there is something about this people. I'm not talking about the corporeal land of Israel or the people living here, but anyone who feels that desire to connect with the Creator, they're called Yashar El, straight to the Creator. That's the inner meaning of Israel, and that's their role in this equation as well. And if we do it, we'll start to radiate these ideas outwards. People will start to feel it already because we're doing it. And that's the power of prayer, first and foremost. It's the innermost power that has to work. Because if we don't do it, nothing else will work. All the other efforts, the external efforts, helping refugees, sending arms, winning this battle or that battle, mediating peace, none of it will work. The peace that will come will have to be a sort of a breather for us to really think about this problem of the war and try to transmute, right? Convert these outer struggles into internal struggles, and that will take certain realizations. So you can't make someone get there, but if you are going there, and a lot of other people are going there, they will begin to feel it. Maybe it's not the most kind of, maybe you like to roll your sleeve and do stuff. It's not that answer yet, but I guarantee that there's a lot of work involved in getting there internally between us, even with those people who want to do it. There's a lot of wars, a lot of inner war that's happening that's very exciting, and it's amazing. It's the best war to have, and not the one that's on the outside. Angela, males have a terrible need to dominate everything. How can we women persuade them to become more nurturing? Beautiful question. We've seen the effects of men with guns, and now it's time to see the effects of women. If women can organize, can unite, can demand something, I'm amazed, by the way. If you look through history, so many conflicts were actually rooted in some relationship with a woman. This queen, that queen, one guy trying to one up another guy, or trying to add resources to their kingdom to appease this queen. The women always played a role in those conflicts as well. Don't kind of wash your hands from it. We're all kind of playing our role in this. But right now, I think if women manage to unite above their natural tendency to kind of keep to themselves and to their house, so to speak, that quality of a woman, if women can make an effort to unite there, men will feel it. They will have no way but to feel it. And you see it, by the way. If you look on TV, online, what are women singing about? What are women talking about? They're talking about small things. If women actually united and talked about the big things, I guarantee the world would listen. Not about anything else, just that. The spiritual war that we have to wage, and you, women, are making us do it. Crystal, do we have enough Kabbalah students and teachers around the world to pray and bring everybody up to the next level? Absolutely. You don't need many. You have this tiny piece, pea-size organ in your head that controls the entire body. You don't need a large number. It's a qualitative thing. It's not a quantitative thing. What is love? Good. Love is wanting to fulfill the other's desires before your desires. To be conscious, great name. Will the soldiers ever lay down arms and refuse to pull the trigger? Actually, we're seeing it. I have to say, because we live in this world, I'm sorry I can't draw here, and we're also almost out of time, but because we live in the world of consequences, you are not seeing the... Hold on, maybe I can... Hold on. This is super annoying. Oh, wait a second. No, oh wait, you know what? Hold on a second, hold on. No, I'm not. This is so annoying. Wait, give me a second. No. Okay. I'm sorry, I can't draw anymore. Maybe it's the creed from above. But the point is that we live in the world of consequences. You can't see how your prayer is affecting things. So, and it's done so on purpose. That's the reason of concealment, to leave us free choice. But the war of the end of the world, right? When we say the end of the world, as we know it, or the end of the world, olam in Hebrew is from the word concealment. So the end of the world is the end of concealment. So we are moving towards a time where we're starting to see how these things are interconnected and are inter-influenced. And Kabbalists see those connections. We live only on one dimension, on the dimension of corporeal dimension of space, time, and motion, and we cannot see how these strings are connected and are affected. So you can see if your prayer is doing something, but I'm just looking as objectively as possible at the situation. I see that this war is, for the time being, could have been much worse, and is in fact actually I don't want to say good because war is terrible, but compared to the amount of power that this country can unleash, this war seems kind of stalled in a strange place, and people are turning around. It's not a classic charge, and right, it's a different war. So things are on us is the ability to be connected to the Creator. This is what we're after, not the outcomes. And if there's a seemingly negative thing in the world, we want to use that to add more love, to exert more. If it wasn't there, you would not be able to add love, because where would you add love? How can you add more love if there's no additional friction and hate, right? It's the same as in a relationship, married couple. When there's a little bit of spice between the couples, you can add love, cover it with love, and rise to a higher level of connection. It's another Kabbalistic trick. Okay, questions started to flow, and we're already 2 minutes behind. So let me choose 2 last questions. Are we supposed to have good thoughts for Putin, or should we pray for him to regret his choices? We don't pray for Putin or for Zelensky or anyone. We pray for humanity to rise above all these crimes and cover them with love, to realize that the ego is a bad thing. What will that mean in the corporeal world? How will Putin stop the war, or be taken out, or be left in power? We don't care about those things. That's one of the tricks as well. We want to be where our thoughts are. Our thoughts need to be on love and connection, not on Putin and the whole system of humanity. But we start in our small group, and then we expand it. Let's see if I can squeeze another one. Collective human consciousness yearns for stabilizing female authority, but the realm of feminine power is not in the position of many modern women desire, which is in the realm of male thoughts. If I understand correctly, I think what you're saying is that yes, a lot of women are they are engaged in struggles on this level, which in the short term are important, right? Equal wage, this kind of rights, this kind of privileges, all that is clear, but it's not going to solve our problem as a species. That's not what we are here for. And it's not about equalizing. Let's all wear suits, or all wear dresses, or all be the same, look the same, feel the same, get paid the same. It's not about that. Those things are only there to stress, to highlight the innate difference between the species, because they serve a purpose in creation. If men and women were the same, we would have one gender, one thing. The reality is that we have two. There's a reason why. Drop a code word, second restriction, but we're not going to have time to get into it. So this is all the time we have. So in conclusion, I just want to read you one last quote by Rabash, just to give you a sense that this is we are part of an organization that's actually doing it. These challenging times, we're the only organization that's actually working on that level of bringing connection, helping people understand the reason for the conflict and how to rise above it. And Rabash wrote about it many years ago, 50, 60 years ago, long before this war. He said, when they think about it, they see that at the end of the day, this is a group of people who have gathered in a certain place under a certain leader to be together. With superhuman courage, they face up to all those who rise against them, not corporeally. Indeed, they are brave men with a strong spirit, and they are determined not to retreat 1 inch. They are first-class fighters, fighting the war against the inclination to their last drop of blood, and their only wish is to win the battle for the glory of his name. In other words, men, from the word gever, those who overcome, not the gender men, those who overcome the evil inclination, who decide to band together and fight against that, they're the ones who eventually reveal the quality of love and bestowal, and reveal the Creator, get to feel that quality among them. So there's hope. Let's continue, and I'll see you next week. And in 5 weeks, and we continue to the Grad Environment Zoom. Thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. All the links to how you can be part of KabU should be in the chat. Have a great night, and only peace be on you.